Hello everyone, I'm Mark Zane and welcome to Zane Investment Solutions. Please take a moment to pause this video and review the following disclaimer. Thank you for that. Welcome to week 35 of the Forex market review. At the moment for us, we're doing quite well this new financial year, beginning the 1st of July 2017 here in Australia. This last month we're currently in August, we've had a successful 4-to-1. That's 4 winning trades to 1 losing trade. Now they haven't all delivered 1 for 2 or double the amount, but we've managed to either tighten the stop losses up and not lose any money except on 1 trade. So we're currently ahead quite a good percentage, which sets us up for the rest of the year. As indicated, we had last year, you only need 1 or 2 really good months and you can finish on top of your game, as long as you keep those stop losses tight. So without any ado, let's jump straight to those charts. The first pair we're going to look at is the EURUSD. We're looking at this one because last week we took a trade in a long position. We've seen it come down, find some support, and then we saw it starting to push back higher. We then drop down to our 4-hour chart. We look for our divergence, where we have our lower low-end price and we have our higher AO. Let me just go in and zoom in just a little bit so you can see the price has stepped down, but the AO has stepped up. And it's clear because it came above the line before making that higher AO. We then drop down to the 1-hour chart and we look for our entry position. So what I'll do is if I just scroll back to roughly where that would have occurred, would have been somewhere around this point here where we're looking to go along, being this our first large AO. And this was probably 1, 2, 3, that's assumption, but I was also looking at it as being an ABC movement. However, it met my criteria, came back down, took an entry around this position here, and then away it went. As you can see, we now have a large AO to the upside, so this is definitely, if that was an ABC, this is definitely 1, 2, 3 now, coming back for 4. So you could look at another position going long, but for me this trade has already moved too far and I was trying to take it to this first DSR zone here. So we managed to get our 1 to 2 risk reward and these nice big candles here when Draghi, the ECB, was talking along with the Fed at Jackson Hole. That was some good talks they were speaking and they were all positive, nothing negative about the currency, and that's why we saw this euro strengthen. The next pair we're going to look at is the pound USD. So we found some support, drop down the 4-hour chart, we can see our lower low in price and we see our higher AO, and it's got to be clear divergence, and as you can see it's just made clear. It was just 0.0044, so it just came above the line, so that met the criteria of clear divergence. Drop down to the 1-hour chart, we can see wave 1 down for 2, up for 3. Again, you can't always pick 1 and 2, but just look for this first large AO, follow back to the beginning, there's roughly the start of it, and we put our Fibonacci retracement tool from the start to the beginning of wave 3. It's got to come back to the minimum 38.2, so it's getting quite there. It might do a bit of a zigzag push up and then probably another push back lower. Expecting to probably retest this 200 EMA line on the 1-hour chart, and then we'll be looking for our position. Our AO has come back below the line, so that indicates that this pullback is confirmed. And once we have a minimum 38.2, we're just going to look for some risk to reward, probably trying to get out at the top there, maybe 70-80 pips, and try to get our 1 for 2. Where do we think it's going to go? Well, once we confirm the pullback, we just use our Fibonacci expansion tool, so retracement, to confirm the minimum 38.2 pullback. Then we use our expansion tool from the start to the top, back down again, and if it happens to stop there and reverse, That's where we'll be looking at. First place is this Fibonacci 61.8, and then the 100% level is where we want to drive it to. Looking out on a bit higher time frame, we're going to find some resistance at that 61.8 matching up with this DSR zone. So we definitely wouldn't want to be looking at bringing to break even, and definitely getting out up the tops here at this DSR zone. So you should be able to make your 1 for 2 to this fib extension 100 level where I like to get out, but I would be definitely bringing my stop losses to break even roughly around here, just in case it finds some resistance and decides to turn back lower. Euro yen, we're looking at starting to step back up higher. On the 4-hour chart, we have a lower low in price, and we have a higher AO. Drop down to the 1-hour chart, looking for a first large AO. Here's the large AO here, come back to the zero line. So our entry would have wanted to be somewhere around here. Fibonacci retracement tool, minimum 38.2 has been hit, came back to 50%, came back to zero line. So looking for an entry around here. For myself, I'm not in this trade. You probably want to take when it had a nice decent push higher, which probably would have been here, but this DSR level is way too close for my risk to reward. So even if you got in here, you're looking at a 100 pip stop loss to 100 pip profit. You could have made that, but that's not meets my criteria. So with this DSR zone here, I'm a bit cautious. I will look at in a higher time frame, the 4-hour chart, now that we have AO divergence, with this AO coming lower to this one, but the price stepping higher. That's divergence against us. So I'd be looking at this 4-hour chart, a whole move, wanting to see the 4-hour AO come back to the zero line, see this pull back to the minimum 38.2, and then if I can probably get a nice tighter 70 to 140 risk to reward, I'll look at trying to get back up and retest this area again. But at this stage, I'm cautious on it because we've already hit our DSR zone. Another one we can look at, which the pound yen is the same as the euro yen. They're both affected by the yen. Yen is strengthening at the moment because of the rockets that are firing from North Korea over Japan, and every country is getting involved saying, you know, you're breaking all the treaties and all the laws and everything like that. So they're going to put some more tightening everything on their exports and imports. So that's obviously when it's in the market scared, they jump to a safe haven currency, which one of them is the yen, along with the Swiss francs. So that's why the yen had fallen, and now we're just starting to see it just recover a little bit as the confusion will go, okay, maybe it's not too bad, but we just like to trade this based on a technical pattern. Here we have a lower low in price on the 4-hour chart with a higher AO. Zoom in a little bit, you can see it's clear divergence, it's come back above the line, so that meets the criteria. We drop down to the 1-hour chart and we're looking for a large AO. So here we can see a nice large AO. This one here, you probably could have assumed that was the first large AO there, and now it's had its pullback. So if you haven't entered this trade round about here, probably you definitely want to be pushing your stop loss to break even. But the DSR zone's quite high up at these levels. The first one's here, another one up here. So if I go and drop a line roughly around there, there's still plenty of movement here. So you could take this as the trade. This definitely still meets the criteria of wave 1, and wave 2 pullback has to come to a minimum of 61.8. So it has, so that we can definitely still call this one 1, back for 2, and this new move is wave 3. And so when we see that pull back to 38.2 minimum with the AO back to the zero line, then we can look at for a long position. But until then, we will just keep tracking this until it's reached its higher point and start coming back. And once that AO is back below the zero line, hopefully it's zigzagged back down to the minimum 38.2 level, and then we can look at for our positions, and then using the fib expansion tool to see how far we can go to make our 1 to 2 risk to reward. Other trades which I look like setting up, I'm just going to step through them quickly. We've got the USO USD, so it's still falling. We haven't had it stagnate and then started to push back higher, but we do have our divergence with our lower low in price and our higher AO. So we're really watching this one for a bit of a push back higher, just to see that trend starting. Aussie USD, we can see on the 4-hour chart a higher high in price with a lower AO. So at this stage, we're looking for it to start falling and then a bit of a pullback before we look at shorting this one. It is reaching a DSR zone, so that's good as well. So we know there's going to be some resistance here. But if this AO continues to rise and all of a sudden it becomes higher than the previous one, we would discontinue this because we need a higher high in price with a lower AO on the 4-hour chart before looking for an entry on the 1-hour chart. Euro pound 4-hour chart, we still have divergence. There's our AO stepping down and our price stepping up. So we just need for that to push back lower and then push back up and give us an entry position with the large AO on the 1-hour chart giving us that confirmation. Euro New Zealand, again, high in price, lower AO, so it's one to watch. It's still lower, so it's still confirmed, even though this is a large AO, it's still lower than the one before. New Zealand USD, 4-hour chart, looking for a divergence, lower low in price, higher AO. Started to push back up higher, so really if it stagnates and starts pushing up past this level here, it's probably going to find some resistance around this DSR zone here, and if it does, then we'll probably see a bit of a pullback, but that may give us our large AO in the wave 3. So at the moment we don't really have it. This is probably an A, B, C. This is probably 1 down for 2. So if we can see a nice move up with a nice large AO, follow back to 0 line and then follow that back down, then that's what we'll be looking for our 1 to 2 risk to reward. And the last one is USD Yen 4-hour chart. The AO is stepping down. So price is stepping down as AO is stepping up. So that's divergent. You can even look at these ones if you need to, because that's still confirming divergence. And then we're looking for a position higher. It started a nice push up on the 1-hour chart. We can see a nice large AO forming. So this very likely could be a 1 down for 2, up for 3. But again, it's hard to tell and we don't care. We just come back to the beginning of the AO, which is roughly around here. So it's this point here. So if it can come back to the minimum 38.2, test this 1-hour 200 EMA line and see the AO come back to 0 line, we could be looking at trade long on the USD Yen, which matches up with the pound yen that we're watching and the euro yen. So I wouldn't go ahead and take 3 long positions on all of those because they're all yen affected. But you might want to take 1 or 2, depends how long you've been trading for. So thank you for that. That was week 35 of the Forex market review. Please pause the video, rewind, and just get a handle on it. The rules are exactly the same for every trade we take, and once you've learnt them, they'll be very simple for you. Here at Sane Investment Solutions, we wish you all the best in your success. Take care. Bye-bye.